This is the first part of the college portfolio that you're going to make. It's the magazine cover. Now, most of the magazine covers that you probably see, sorry about that, that you probably see right now are ones at the grocery store. So when you're checking out at the grocery store, you might see these magazine covers. Now, one of the things with these particular styles of magazine covers is they're really, really text heavy and incredibly busy. They really lack a focal point for the most part. And on top of that, most of them are really just a photograph. There's nothing that's been photoshopped. And for the college, they're looking for something more than just having a single photo and a whole bunch of text all over it. They want to see something that's got a little bit more of an artsy type feel. So I'm going to show you some examples of ones that they may be looking for. So again, here are some of the standard ones that you would see, but this is really not the direction that you want to go. So I'm showing you examples of ones that you shouldn't do. What we're going to be looking at is the fact that sometimes less is more. So we're going to be peeling back a little ways. Here's some examples of ones that I felt were more in line with what the college would be looking for. It's really more about the dramatic image, but it's showcasing the designer's work. So the topography and then some level of photoshopping that's being done. So it's less about showcasing the photographer and more about showcasing the designer. So you can see other examples. These have a decent amount of topography and type and article names on there. However, it's not overloaded like those grocery store style ones are. All right, so there's several different parts, and we'll be discussing these, and I'll be having short quizzes on some of these materials, so this will be here for a resource. But these are the key things that we're going to be developing over the course of this particular project. You're going to be doing some kind of masthead. That's the title of the magazine. You're going to be developing that in Illustrator and modifying the font in some way. And then you're going to be creating what's known as the magazine deck. That's the slogan. You're going to have at least one image on the magazine cover that has some form of obvious photo manipulation. And I'll give you examples in a bit. You're going to have at least one lead article. So the main article of the magazine. You can include other articles, but those are more cover lines. Those are optional. And then we'll be putting in details like the volume number, the issue number, the date, the barcode, and how much the magazine costs. As we go along, I'll be pointing out quite a bit of examples of each one of these. But this is kind of an overview of the anatomy of a magazine. So you can see the issue number. The location of some of these things will vary, but the masthead for your magazine should be at the top. That way it's viewable if they're stacked on top of each other. So let's look at the masthead. Here's an example of a ton of different mastheads. You'll notice that the font itself usually is not just a pre-made plain font. There's usually something that's been done to it. It's either a custom font or one or more of the letters have had some kind of modification to them. They're clear and they should be easy to read. So this is really probably the most important part of a magazine when it's being developed, because that is your identity. It's essentially the logo of the magazine, and it needs to stand out. What you're going to do is you're going to end up creating 5 to 6 variations of your masthead, but we're not going to start with that. Here's examples of a South American magazine that I absolutely love. It went out of print probably about 5 or 6 years ago, but they showcased a ton of Hispanic artists that are just incredible. Here's examples of the Newsweek heading. You can see how the image itself interacts with the masthead. You'll see that frequently in magazines where it will kind of touch or the image may get near the masthead. Now, for yours, you're going to want to make sure that the masthead is clear and easy to read. Like, for example, right here, this Dennis Burkamp photo is blocking the name of the magazine. But this magazine is very well known in England. It's a soccer magazine. So they can get away with hiding parts of the word or the masthead because it's already well known. You don't have that luxury, so you're going to want to make sure that you don't obscure too much of your masthead. Here's a Beckett basketball magazine, a film magazine, a variety of different Sports Illustrated ones. Now, with some of these, I'm just showcasing the masthead because most of these do not have an obvious Photoshop that's been done to it, other than maybe it's cut out of the background. That's not going to be enough for what we want for the college. So this is the process we're going to go through. Same process that we went through on previous projects. You're going to find inspiration first, then you're going to do some planning, and then we'll spend the bulk of the time building. So for today, what you're going to work on is creating the Pinterest board. What you're going to do for the Pinterest board is you're going to create a new board called Magazine Cover, and you're going to search the web and you're going to pin at least 15 to 20 different magazine covers. And I want you to make sure that you include magazine covers that you find interesting, but they should have some obvious form of photoshopping that's been done. You're also going to be finding 4 to 5 specific mastheads, but you'll see that in another video and explaining what that component is. After you've completed the Pinterest board, you're going to complete a Google document that's going to start you thinking about what you're going to do for your magazine. And with that, you're going to be looking at, here's a long list of things that you'll come up with of things that you're interested in. I find that if you do a magazine cover based on something that you're interested in, you're going to have a lot more fun with this and you'll have a lot more ideas. You're going to come up with what your final magazine topic is going to be, who would be your target audience for this magazine. Then you're going to find 4 to 5 mastheads that fall within that same genre. So for example, if you choose to do a heavy metal magazine, you're going to want to go out and look for other magazines that exist that are in that same subject, that same genre. And you'll pin 4 to 5 different magazines, mastheads, on your Pinterest board. So that same Pinterest board is going to have 15 to 20 of the covers and then specific mastheads. You're going to list out some possible names for your magazine. You're going to come up with some ideas that you could use for your main image, as well as some article names that you may use for your cover, and any photoshopping ideas that you have to do for your cover. That will take the form of a Google Doc. So once you're done with that, you'll be recording a screencast, and that's what you're going to be turning in. The screencast is going to be a 4 to 7 minute screencast that explains about the covers you chose and why you chose them, what specific photoshopping you think was done. You're going to describe your magazine topic and who your audience is and review through the Google form for your planning sheet and talk me through what your brainstorming was about. And then you're going to describe what images, article titles that you may use and what kind of photoshopping you think you may want to do. So again, just like previous projects, this is a brainstorming session, but it's kind of an organized, structured brainstorming. And we can deviate or change your mind as we go along, but this really should be well thought out because this is going to serve as the basis for what we're going to work on for this next big project. After you're done with this, you're going to be submitting the link to your screencast. Just make sure, as always, you set it to public, not private. So again, this is what you're doing today. Make a Pinterest board. Should be called magazine cover. You're going to pin 15 to 20 magazine covers that you find interesting. Doesn't have to be about your topic, but interesting to you. Then you're going to fill out the planning sheet. The more thought you put into the planning sheet, the better results you're going to have when we start to build. You're going to, in addition to the planning sheet, and it says this in the instructions of the planning sheet, you're going to find 4 to 5 mastheads that are within the same subject or genre of the magazine you plan on doing. Then you'll record a screencast. So that's what you're doing for today. Your inspiration and your planning. Pinterest board, your planning sheet, and you'll record the screencast, and that will be due by midnight. All right. The next part we'll get into tomorrow, which will be gathering images and discussing the individual parts. And I'll show you examples of professional as well as student work.